Welcome back. This is 26.2 at 50. This is August 16th, and I am reaching the end of week 11 of my 18-week marathon training plan to run the Portland Marathon this October. And I'm actually shooting this on Saturday. Normally I shoot these videos on Sundays right after kind of my long weekly run. Honestly, as these weekly Sunday runs have been getting really long, it's kind of hard to fit the video shooting into my day because I spend so much time running. So I'm going to shoot on Saturday. I ran 8 miles this morning. Things felt good. Overall, week 11 has gone pretty well. I ran 5 on Tuesday, 8 Wednesday, 5 Thursday, and then 8 today. And so with the 18 tomorrow, that'll be 44, which will be the longest week of this training plan. I'm feeling good. No injury concerns. But I do recognize that we are hitting the stretch run here of this plan. We're getting into the last third of it. And for a subject for this week's video, I thought I would just talk about how I am going to kind of take a step up in my discipline for kind of the home stretch here, getting ready for race day. So I know I've talked about kind of at the beginning of this series about how, early on in a plan, you can do things like, if you feel the need to sort of skip like a shorter run in a training plan, it's probably not a big deal. And I know I've talked in other videos that, my diet has not been pristine throughout like the past few months of the training, but this is about the time when that has to change. So I can't really skip any training runs going forward. And as the training runs are getting really long, the performance aspect, being able to run at race pace, just with this goal that I have in mind of finishing the race in 4 hours. That's really important, and just the physical recovery from the training runs is really important. The other thing, obviously, that's really key at this stage is avoiding injuries. Avoiding having any type of injury right now would possibly be really bad for my race preparation. So in 2022, so that's the only other time I've run a marathon, I did not take this approach. I think this was the kind of thing I had to have as a learning experience, have as a mistake to really understand. So in 2022, I was doing, I think it was a 16-week training plan instead of 18, but similar thing. And I was really enthusiastic at the beginning of it. I was, doing all the runs. I was, really good about my diet. But around this time, I started to kind of get a little tired of that. I still did all the runs, but, my diet started to slip a little bit. I just kind of got sick of being like really disciplined about it. Back in 2022, I definitely drank more alcohol on average than I do now. And, in the last few weeks, like my alcohol consumption kind of crept upward as well. And I do think I paid a price for that on race day in 2022. So in the last few weeks before that race, I started having issues with calf strains, like some injury issues. So, and I remember that morning on race day being like really nervous about like how well my calves would kind of hold up to the race. And as I've talked about in other videos, the race was quite a challenging experience. Like the last 8 or 9 miles, I started having kind of a lot of just aches and pains and injury issues, and it was a real struggle to finish. Like I did finish, but it was, at the end of that race, I told myself I'd never do it again, and here we are. But so my plan is really to take a different approach this time around. So up until now, so I started my training plan in June, And up until now, I've kind of been pretty good, like all things considered, in terms of lifestyle. Like, I've really been good about my diet for the most part. Like, cooking most meals at home. I really haven't had much alcohol to drink, like, at all this summer. And I've been good about getting into the gym twice a week and kind of doing that strength work that's so helpful for the injury prevention. On the other hand, once a week or so, like, my wife and I will go out to, a restaurant, and we'll have restaurant food. And, sometimes, as the weather's gotten warmer, it's like, okay, maybe some ice cream sounds good. And, when I haven't been drinking, I have, like, kind of discovered that non-alcoholic beer has come a long way. So I've been enjoying a bit of that this summer. Which is, it's definitely, like, much better than drinking alcohol in terms of, like, the effect on, like, your sleep and your recovery, but, it is, like, not great calories. So, yeah. But at this point, 6, 7 weeks or so till the race, I think it's kind of time to lock it down for a few weeks and just be really good. Because I look at my training plan and I know what I'm looking at, right? Like, I've got 18 miles to run tomorrow morning, so for, total of 44 for the week. So week 12 of the program I'm following, I'll run 36 miles, including a 12-mile long run. Week after that is 43 miles and a 20-mile long run, which is, like, one of the two longest. Week after that, which would be 14, not as much during the week, but I'll be running a half marathon. I'll actually be running, like, an event half marathon as kind of a tune-up for the big day. But so that'll be, like, 13.1 miles at my race pace, so which will be, like, the longest pace run that I'll be doing for my training. Week after that is another 43 miles and a 20-mile long run. And then we get into, like, the last couple of weeks of the training plan, and it does taper down a bit, but it's still, like, 32 miles and then 24 miles, and then we get into the last week and, that big day at the end. So, yeah, at this point, the keys for me, I know, are performance, recovery, and injury prevention, right? So, basically, no alcohol whatsoever, and kind of as few bad calories, like bad carbs, as possible. So, I'll be taking a break from the non-alcoholic beer, taking a break from the ice cream. I'll probably also really, I guess, clean things up in terms of focusing on leaner proteins in my diet. So, like, more like chicken and seafood as opposed to, red meat and pork, that kind of thing. I'll definitely be keeping up with my strength work and stretching, which I talked about in my last video, which is, and doing things like planks, like core work, which it's like even if you don't really want to do them, it's a really good idea at this stage in a training program. And, finally, just making sure I consistently get to bed early every night and get plenty of rest so that, I'm doing everything I can for myself in terms of the recovery. So, and I guess, like, the last thing I'll say is, like, I'm not a robot. Like, I say all that, but, like, a part of my mind is totally, like, planning, like, what am I going to do after the race? Like, how am I going to celebrate? So, like, I have some pretty indulgent restaurant reservations that I'm planning on making pretty soon. I'll be thinking about, like, maybe taking, like, a weekend trip in the middle of October, like, after the race. I think it's good to kind of keep that in mind, to kind of keep this from becoming too much of a grind. But that said, I know I'm not there yet. Like, we still have several weeks to go. So, this is the plan. This is kind of what I'll be doing for these next few weeks, just to give myself the best chance possible of finishing this race with the best time I can. So thanks very much for watching. I'd appreciate it if you left a comment, subscribe, that would be awesome. But otherwise, have a great day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye bye.